How dare you accuse me, Moktub? You were at my side on the flashing hooves. Nuria's hackle spines were fully extended and she flexed her grasping hooves against her restraints, with frustration. Her carapace wept, where her rank insignia and medals had been stripped from her exoskeleton, leaving trails of marrow down her 4-meter-tall frame. Nuria stood in the central council chamber, surrounded by the gathered members of the League of Species Security Council. She glared up at the raised table, where the ranking members of the council sat. At the head of the table sat Moktub, with a new rank insignia stapled into his carapace, marking him as a full admiral. Just a few short weeks ago, that had been her seat. That had been her rank. After the battle, Moktub had implored her to let him take a courier ship back to the assemblage at best speed to inform them of the fleet's defeat and warn them of the nature of the ration and the Terrans. It had seemed like a prudent course of action at the time. Now she realized that Moktub had wanted the extra time to turn the Security Council against her. At her side, her 2 Kurthan Gaolers moved closer, raising their shock sticks in warning. Clenching her grasping hooves tightly, Nuria tried to force herself to calm down. How could this have happened? She had fully expected a court-martial when she returned with the battered remains of the League battle fleet to the assemblage. Incompetent, a failure. Those were the accusations she expected, and she had made her peace with them on the fleet's limping return to League space. League security had been waiting for her when she exited her ship, and Nuria had gone with them willingly. She thought she was ready for whatever they had in store for her. Ready for the pain of her accomplishments ripped from her body as they stripped her of her medals. Ready to be treated as an embarrassment. Ready for whatever punishment they had in store for her. If she was asked to pay with her life for the tens of thousands of crew that had died because of her arrogance, she was prepared to give it. She had told herself that she would accept whatever judgment the League Council deemed fit without protest. But Nuria had not been prepared to be called a traitor. I have given my life to the League. 30 years, I have served the League of Species, leading the battle fleet into combat 22 times during those years. 3 weeks ago, I failed it. I failed to bring victory to the League, I failed the fleet, and I failed the brave crew of the ships that I led into that battle. I freely admit those failures. But treachery is not among them. That is what this hearing will determine, Nuria. The Arcan ambassador spoke, grasping the League gavel stone, which marked him as the arbiter of the trial. You've also presided over similar hearings, have you not? You will have your chance to speak in your defense, presently. But for now, the accused will remain silent. Admiral Moktub, you have leveled serious charges against the accused. Present your evidence to the council. Of course, honored ambassador. Moktub nodded to the Arcan. Drawing himself up to his full height, he turned to the gathered representatives, arrayed on the council floor below him. If it pleased the council. Whatever he was about to say was drowned by a rumble of voices near the entrance to the chambers. Being 4 meters tall had its advantages, and Nuria could clearly see the source of the disturbance. Through the entrance doors walked a human and a Dreeden, surrounded by what looked to be armored Dreeden security guards, some of which seemed to bear the signs of recent fighting. Nuria didn't know what color that a Dreeden bled, but she didn't think it was their blood on the shock batons they carried. The crowd parted around the newcomers as they took their place in the council chambers, representatives backing away in fear. Shouts of fear began to be replaced by shouts of anger as League representatives regained their confidence. Cries of "monster" and "flesh eater" were heard over the cacophony of voices. The Terran ambassador's face was thankfully covered by that opaque helmet the humans wore when around other species to obscure their features. Still, Nuria felt uneasy as his head turned her way, remembering the piercing gaze of the human Admiral Davies, who had removed her helmet to reveal herself to Nuria after Davies' fleet had allowed Nuria and her fleet to escape the trap set by the ration. She looked up at Moktub, who appeared frozen as he stared at the human and the Dreeden. He did not expect the Dreeden ambassador to return so soon, Nuria realized. For the first time since her capture, Nuria let her hackle spines lower. There was some hope for her yet. There will be order. The Arcan ambassador slammed the gavel stone on the table in front of him, his shell shaking with the effort. We will address the issue of the Dreeden Republic and the associated republics of Terra after this hearing. Admiral Mokhtop assures me that the proceedings will shed valuable light on the crimes of both races. The assembled delegates of the League of Species begrudgingly turned their attention back to the central dais. Mokhtop gathered himself and started again. If it pleases the Council, I formally accuse Nuria, former Admiral of the League Battle Fleet, of high treason against the League of Species. I have evidence that she conspired with the predator species of the Rashan and the Terrans, along with their quisling pets, the Dreeden Republic. Mokhtop paused as murmurs swept the council chambers. I was on board the Flashing Hooves during the disastrous battle, which resulted in defeat of the League fleet. And I watched as former Admiral Nuria conspired with the Rashan and the Terrans to destroy the battle fleet and leave the League defenseless. Placing a data chip on the table, he continued. On this chip, I have recordings from that battle that show former Admiral Nuria's incompetence and treachery. Species of the Council, see for yourself. Mokhtop manipulated an inset holoscreen on the table with his grasping hooves, and the lights lowered as a holographic recording of the Flashing Hooves bridge was projected above the council chamber. I managed to recover these recordings from the Flashing Hooves after former Admiral Nuria attempted to delete them. I apologize for the poor quality. The chips were damaged in the battle, and I was only able to recover a portion of the deleted files. But I think the recordings speak for themselves. The projection was filled with static and the audio garbled, but was clear enough to show Admiral Nuria in her acceleration couch, with Vice Admiral Mokhtop by her side. Nuria watched as the recording played out above her head. What point is he trying to make? Nuria wondered. They would expose Nuria's poor judgment in not heeding the human admiral's warnings, but she was unconvinced that Mokhtop could make the council believe she was a traitor from them. What was his game? Admiral, I'm receiving a signal from the fourth planet. It seems to be audio and visual. The projection of Nuria's communications officer reported. Put it on screen. Nuria saw herself say. She closed her eyes, she knew what was coming next. The holo projection changed its view from the bridge to the incoming communication. On the screen appeared a Rashan. Even with her eyes closed, Nuria could remember what it looked like. Exposed teeth, 4 forward-facing eyes, smooth hairless skin, and 4 arms, 2 of which that ended in delicate manipulators that seemed at odds with the violence the rest of the creature promised. I have to say, the recording of the Rashan spoke. It is convenient when prey comes to us. The author's name and the link to original text is in the description. Consider tapping the thumbs up and pressing the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video.